Almost there, getting ready. Gotta get dressed, you know.
Even
Hit
outside,
that like,
it's
let
packed.
everybody know you're here. All right, we're getting started. All right, I know, I'm coming. I know, almost there. One second, we're almost there. It's gonna happen. All right. All right, we'll just yeah, buddy. Now, yeah, we're just gonna have to start this way. Mike's rocking. Everybody hears me. Excellent. Okay, I can see everything. Ready to go. Start the thing. Hey, it worked. Good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good morning. What's going on? Okay, first of all, right out of the gate, hit the like. Let people know you're there. If you're here at all, don't. You know what? It would be false advertising if you're not here. Don't like the stream. If you're not listening to the sound of my voice now or ever, I would say don't subscribe. It will confuse you. It'll just mess up your algorithm, which happens sometimes. Sure. I'm just being silly. Okay. Okay, there are mornings, ladies and gentlemen, where I downright spring out of bed. If you know what I'm saying. And then there are other mornings where I get caught reading and I'm like, oh damn. And I don't get to, let's see, okay, I already said this there. Yes, I did. Okay. Now let me say yeah, so good. This morning, there was so much breaking news on the in the world of informants. Oh, by the way, a hi chat room. Let me bring you in because you got to be a part of this. You guys been with me. What in the heck? Roll, you crazy thing. There you go. Oh, it's in this one. That's how you do it. Hi, there you are. It's not as snazzy as I normally like it, but there you are. Hello. I think a bunch of that's a lot of people. How many people have been with me since the very first time I printed up the "There is no Hunter Biden laptop" thing when I just straight out came out and said it? Okay. Uh, you might need to catch some folks up because this is some deep read shit, and apparently it goes even deep undercover. It goes deeper than that. That's right. I am the deep state, and this is how we know. Hi. Oh, I love you guys. Look at you guys hanging around. It's good. I guess a bunch of you were there when I was holding everybody's hand on election night, telling you that Biden was going to win. I'll do the same thing this time. I'm going to be up all night. It won't be necessary. Trump's going to lose early in the evening, if he even makes it there. It's so good. So there was. I have. So where the shit is this? Okay, there it is. Yeah, this is on X. There we go. Yeah, so I need to take this story and send it to my raw story so I can show you guys. There was a series of stories about the fact that apparently there was not just one Russian, I guess, primary influence campaign through an informant. There were two. Count them, two. Now, I would say there's probably 10. And there were two particular lies that people were talking about the Russia hoax and all that kind of stuff that the Republicans push on. One is this idea that the 51 intelligence people, they need to be tried for treason because they lied and said this looks like a Russian disinformation op. Okay, first of all, they were right, and it doesn't just look like it fucking is. And many of the people who are saying that those people should be tried for treason know this, from Steve Bannon to Pompeo himself. They all know that's exactly what it is. They just felt comfortable using it. They were, they needed it, so they were pretending, and they figured nobody was going to uncover it, so fuck it, right? Okay, now, let me take this guy right here. Oh, I got to hit the share thing is what I want to do. Share that there. And put it in there. Okay, now I can bring it up. Excellent. I'm fine. I'm a little, I've got leather voice, all right, this morning, but it's going to be okay. Come on. Don't be afraid. This is deep stuff, man. This is super deep. Fear not. Now I got to go to my quick notes, and then I go to the bottom of the quick notes, and hopefully, there it is. So this one, open that guy. Excellent. Okay, cool. Now let me bring this guy down here so I can read it a little easier. It's always hard to find this little screen guy. There we go. Oh, this is so good. It's so good. I wish the type was bigger, but what are you going to do? Maybe you can. Well, it'll zoom it in because it's shit. And then this is a conversation ago. And this is where the story came from. Oh, you suck. I got to put it in. I got to grab the copy link. And then I got to open it in here. Yeah. So give me 1 second. I know, I'm chasing something, but you'll like it when I finally get there. It's fun. Okay. So paste this in here. There you go. Excellent. I can't use the other browser because it has an ad blocker on it, so I can't show it to you there. Okay. So, by the way, Raw Story, you're a bunch of dicks because you should not deny people the ability to look at stuff if they have ad blocker on, because they might be looking at it because they just don't want the page eaten up with a bunch of fucking graphics, and it's not your original story. That's the other thing. I like Raw Story and I go to it often, but it's a barrel edition, let's be honest. They borrow other people's, it's an aggregating site, just like Alternate. They borrow other people's stories and go. Okay, I will finish the thought, Karuchi. Here we come. I got it. We're all right. Okay, this is it. Okay, so this story, we're looking at this morning. Here's Pompeo. Ex-KGB agent handed Mike Pompeo dirt on Biden at a 2019 Beverly Hills gala. Now, this guy came up to him and gave him a USB drive, little memory stick, and said, it's got a bunch of cool stuff. You're going to need this to fight Biden. At the exact same time, the bullshit laptop story was starting. At the exact same time, Rudy got his copy of the hard drive in Ukraine from some Russians that he paid $5 million for, that they were selling it for $3 million. And Rudy read Art of the Deal and said, overpay and get less in return. I guess it's chapter 9. So, Boston, Brian, what's happening? So, excuse me. At a gala on May 11th, 2019. Now, the timing of this is very important because, again, this is around when Biden is starting to lock up he's just entered, essentially. He started to, he made his decision, and they're moving ahead. And this is about the time that the hard drive showed up. All this stuff is around May, June of 2019. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was handed a thumb drive from a foreign national with dirt. The guy's name, his code name or his nickname or his cyber name or his hashtag name was Raleigh. Raleigh, Rollie. Which it's in here. Some of it. How do you pronounce it?
Free health care for illegal.
So, at a gala May 11, 2019, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was handed a thumb drive from a foreign national with dirt on Hunter Biden and a Ukrainian energy company, Burisma, according to a new report. Exclusive report from Insider. Again, not yours, raw story, so hiding it behind a paywall seems like a dick move. Anyway, cited two sources with direct knowledge of the incident. Well, fuck it. Let's go straight there because there's some other stuff here. There you go. Look at this. Even pictured with exclusive. Russia-linked smear campaign against Hunter Biden began earlier than previously thought. Yeah. A former KGB agent gave disinformation about Hunter Biden to an aide for Mike Pompeo in May of 2019. The agent also presented the same disinformation to Justice Department officials in January of 2019. The presentation is the earliest known instance of Russia-linked source pushing such allegations. Now, we'll get into this. I love being right. I just enjoy, you're not wrong. I'm always right. One of the things that I think you have to keep in mind when I'm reading about is the times when you've heard Rudy Giuliani and others say people were bringing the FBI received 50 reports of Ukrainian shenanigans and Biden criminality during 2019, 2020. Remember that almost every field office, major field office, like state field office in the country, got a delivery of a hard drive or a USB stick of compromat allegedly on Hunter or on Joe or James or whatever. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. They just dropped off the same hard drive everywhere, right? With the idea being that when the FBI checked it, they're like, this is bullshit. This is no fucking metadata on this or whatever. This is clearly, we'll shelf it, but you can't. If we looked at this stuff and found a crime and tried to use it in court, we'd never be able to charge the crime. So put it over there and don't touch it. Nobody involved in any real investigations. Unless we're told to investigate this thing, it sits right over there. Because if we look through it and we find a bunch of shit and then and they say our investigation was predicated on any of it, it's going to get thrown out. Because this is a ham-handed bunch of bullshit. Right? Remember that. So also the idea that the FBI didn't even look into this stuff. Okay, the FBI was smart not to look into this shit because if they had, and Hunter Biden had been engaged in crimes, they wouldn't be able to try him for it because they'd already fucked themselves by using fruit of the poison tree. Yes, it was the same hard drive, same intel, same bullshit everywhere. So that they could say later that even though there was nothing to it, right? Let's say you have a country, Norway, exactly. Even though it would never come to anything, they could go like 50 different FBI places got information. People were trying to stop the Biden crime family, the Biden dumpling gang from taking over the United States, right? That was it. Okay. So, even if it didn't amount to shit, they could do a volume attack, bury them in bullshit. Okay. A thumb drive handed by a foreign national to an aide traveling with then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in 2019 suggests efforts by Russia-linked actors to influence the 2020, you think? Does it suggest the 2020 I think in attachment to all the other incidences that were happening exactly the same fucking time? Yeah, it would look like an effort to me. With Hunter Biden, disinformation began earlier and were broader in scope than previously reported, except here. You're welcome. Because did I ever drop this ball? Did I ever drop this ball? No, I did not. According to two sources with direct knowledge of the incident, a thumb drive containing poorly sourced allegations about Hunter Biden and his work for Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company, was thrust into the hands, yummy, of one of Pompeo's aides at the conservative Claremont Institute's 40th anniversary gala in Beverly Hills on May 11, 2019. Oh, in Hollywood. Well, at some fancy pants Hollywood gathering. You don't say. All right. The man pushing the thumb drive was a citizen of an Eastern European country and a guest of Claremont. Oh, that's lovely. He was also, for a time, an FBI confidential informant with the code name Raleigh. His true name is known to Business Insider, which is identifying him only as Raleigh in order to protect sources who provided information for this story. Raleigh, on the other hand, seemed excuse me seemed unconcerned about potential exposure. At first, he denied knowing anything about Pompeo when contacted by Business Insider, but when Business Insider sent him a photo of him at the gala with Pompeo, he admitted he'd been there. You can publish. It's advertising for me, he says to this fellow. That's him. And again, yeah, probably. Like, I was able to get right next to this dude, and this guy was going to run for president. Yeah. Pompeo met Raleigh at Claremont Institute's 40th anniversary gala, May 11th, 2019. The former KGB agent handed a thumb drive with Hunter Biden disinformation to Pompeo's aide that evening. It's not weird that it's just that he's here, that there's former KGB guys at the fucking Claremont conservative anniversary dinner thing. That in and of itself isn't like, the fuck? Never mind the fact that he was able to get close to Pompeo and, who was, former Secretary of State, and give stuff to his aide, and the aide took it. He goes, the thumb drive that Raleigh gave Pompeo's aide contains some of the same material that Raleigh had presented weeks earlier in January 2019 in a briefing to Justice Department officials in Los Angeles. So he was one of the fucking couriers that was dropping shit everywhere. I'm not interested in the past. He said when asked over WhatsApp about the briefing, he denied that he gave anyone a thumb drive at the Claremont Institute event, but they talked to Pompeo's assistant. Business Insider has obtained a copy of slides that accompanied Raleigh's January 2019 presentation. They accuse Hunter Biden and his business associates of engaging in money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud. Raleigh's slides offer a labyrinthine wire chart, clippings from old news articles, and a potpourri of links, including to various Ukrainian and Russian websites. President Joe Biden's first name is repeatedly misspelled as Yosef. They contain no evidence of criminal activity. That would be the kind of, there's your kind of yeah but moment, but Nevertheless, according to a disclosure prepared by the FBI whistleblower Jonathan Buma, Raleigh's handler, the material was taken seriously enough to be passed on to FBI agents in Delaware who were investigating Hunter Biden. Also included were some Ukrainian language backup materials that BI hasn't reviewed. Raleigh confirmed to Business Insider he had prior contact with the FBI. The Raleigh presentation sheds new light on the timeline of efforts by Russia and by operatives for Donald Trump to seed allegations about Joe Biden's relationship to Burisma with media and government authorities. While questions about the propriety of Hunter Biden's lucrative Burisma work in Ukraine were raised by the New York Times as early as 2015 and explored in a 2018 book by conservative author Peter Schweizer, they didn't explode into the forefront of the political conversation until March of 2019. It was during that month that Rudy Giuliani gave Pompeo a folder. Isn't it weird? So January, this guy does this presentation. Suddenly, Rudy's got a bunch of printouts he wants to hand out, and then they get a drive to him in May. I mean, it's just so good. Rudy Giuliani gave a folder of Hunter Biden material that he obtained from Ukraine, and the right-wing investigative reporter John Solomon, who, by the way, we have to thank for the email that proves that Joe Biden was already going to have Shokin fired before the phone call that supposedly Hunter Biden placed in Dubai ever happened. John Solomon, that article I always show that shows the State Department notes and what Biden was supposed to do once he got to Ukraine on his next trip about guaranteeing that he got fired, he must go, and all that stuff. Shokin must be fired. All that was posted on John Solomon's site. 1 month later, in April 2019, Hunter abandoned his laptop at a Delaware repair shop. Bullshit. Eventually leading to a wave of revelations in October 2020 that included information about his business dealings in Ukraine. Now, that's nonsense. Just for the record. This is where they lose the script for a minute, but whatever. The Hunter Burisma material that was presented in January 2019 and again on the thumb drive given to Pompeo's aide in May 2019 appears to be the earliest known case of Burisma-related disinformation of foreign origin being ingested and apparently taken seriously by members of the U.S. intelligence community. It also suggests a third channel of 2020 disinformation coming from east to west, one that's separate from the previously known efforts that went through Giuliani and Alexander Smirnov. I'm reading faster than the letters are processing in my head. I'll slow down. I'm sorry. Another FBI informant with ties to Russia and Eastern Europe. Smirnov was indicted last week over accusations of lying to the FBI about Hunter Biden. Prosecutors have said in court filings that Smirnov has extensive ties to Russian intelligence. Well, it's in their actual breakdown of why they arrested him. It's easy to see why Hunter Biden's critics have focused on Burisma, blah, blah, blah. The revelation about Raleigh's thumb drive comes shortly after Smirnov's indictment, in which he's charged with making false statements about Hunter Biden in June 2020. Like Smirnov, Raleigh's materials accuse Hunter Biden of involving his father in Burisma's business and committing vast off-the-books fraud. Smirnov's claims included the Burisma officials paid a $5 million bribe to Joe Biden and were memorialized in an FBI 1023 form, which was bullshit. By the way, any morning when it's 1023, just know that makes that's like sweating time for James Comer and Jim Jordan. Anytime it's 10:23 morning or night, you should tweet, "Hey, it's 10:23 at night. Hey, it's 10:23 in the morning." Yeah. Oh, Discorded. Thank you. I'm gonna open I should open my Discord. We'll get it in there somewhere. OB Clarence V POTUS. Yeah, it's excellent. Thank you. Move this over here so I have that. Lovely. Now, a spokesperson for Pompeo did not respond to repeated requests for comment. No evidence suggests Pompeo or his aide did anything with the material on the thumb drive after they received it, because they weren't stupid. Pompeo's an asshole, and he's misguided, and he has terrible decisions, and he's the traditional idea of a neocon, although I guess technically speaking he's just a war hawk. But he's not going to get suckered by something this dumb like Homer is. That's the thing. That's how he ended up being the head of the CIA after being, So, former State Department official who served under Pompeo told BI that it wasn't unusual for officials to receive random material from people they met at social events, and that there was a process in place for handling such materials off to in-house experts for evaluation. BI reached out to the Claremont Institute, which was responsible for vetting the gala guest list on Thursday, and didn't immediately receive a reply. Weird. After 2016, the Claremont Institute drifted from traditional conservative politics into more extreme territory. Weird. It granted a fellowship to the MAGA troublemaker Jack Posobiec, who has used his online platform to spread conspiracy theories and served as an organizing hub for the backlash to diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives in higher education. Spokesperson for the FBI declined to comment. The Justice Department and a lawyer representing Buma didn't immediately return comment sent after hours. Now, here's the other thing. Let me jump in here. I love you guys. Hang in there. This is very dense. Sorry. Can kind of maybe move this. Yeah, it's not gonna. Rats. Yeah, because it's in the original type. Sorry. Trust me, this is what it says. I want to have it up on screen just so you know I'm actually reading the thingy thing. Okay. This is from the Foreign Affairs the Foreign Affairs State Department records, Committee on Foreign Affairs, State Department records under that the Democrats put forward this like statement about some of the stuff that they were finding. Today, Senate Republicans released a report trying to breathe new life into a debunked conspiracy theory dealing with Ukrainian energy company, former Vice President Joe Biden, and his son Hunter. The intentions behind this report are plainly partisan. Chairman Johnson himself stated that his investigation would help Donald Trump win re-election. This report restates a tired smear, blah, blah, blah. But the story is as phony as it was 5 years ago. After a month-long standoff between the State Department and the Foreign Affairs Committee finally obtained the State Department records that Secretary Pompeo provided to the Senate for this sham investigation. So this stuff did get passed on. Nothing in the 16,759 pages supports the allegations Republicans have been making for months regarding former Vice President Joe Biden. In fact, the documents show precisely the opposite. Vice President Biden was a fierce fighter against corruption in Ukraine, carrying out the clear policy of the United States government. So what really happened? Following Ukraine's revolution of dignity and Russia's military intervention in 2014, the Obama administration, together with NATO allies and European partners, engaged the new Ukrainian government to stabilize Ukraine and deter further Russian aggression. Vice President Biden was the point person for implementing U.S. policy towards Ukraine, reinforcing the broader U.S. efforts to push back against corruption, reform its criminal justice system, and hold accountable corrupt actors, including, specifically, Mykola Zlochevsky, the owner of Burisma. The records note that the vice president's son, a private citizen, took a board role in Burisma in 2014, but there's not a single shred of evidence in the records produced by the State Department that he ever asked for, let alone received, any special treatment for himself or Burisma. Burisma did hire U.S. lobbyists to represent the company and Zlochevsky. Now, that was the call to D.C. That was the call. They had lobbyists in D.C. that when they said, we're going to call D.C., they weren't calling the vice president's office because it wouldn't have done them any fucking good. They called their lobbying firm. Boy. Let's see. The records show that lobbyists, though dogged, never accomplished their aim of changing the last administration's view that their client was a corrupt oligarch. Finally, these documents point to the specific origins of the Biden-Burisma conspiracy theory, a Russian disinformation effort launched in late 2015 by pro-Kremlin media. So there was and it all comes back to Crimea. I almost wish Phil was here to talk about this, and I'll do a shorter version of this tomorrow, and kind of bring this in and cut and paste little pieces of this so I can blow them up so that you could see them a little bit better. But I'll show you in a second. But the original story, remember that thing I did a little bit ago, and Phil was here for part of it, where we talked about how the Russians planted a story in an Indian newspaper that made the allegation that the CIA created AIDS to kill black people. And then they released that story from India all over Africa to basically turn both Africans and African Americans against the U.S. government during at the height of the AIDS crisis, so that they could essentially so that they could help the Chinese move in through the Belt and Road Initiative. They were basically clearing the ground for it. The Wagner Group and others were operating as a way of pushing people out of the way. Remember I hate doing, pop culture references that can be a little short on, but you know how like every old episode of the Hulk TV series was about a real estate developer who was trying to drive people out of their homes because they wouldn't sell. They would scare them, or they would set fire to their houses or whatever, and because they wanted to buy them up and build a big building, and the people wouldn't move and all that kind of shit. Okay, and so you had these tough guys come in. These are the bad guys want this done, and then they hire some thugs to do it, and the thugs would clear out the houses, and then the Hulk would kick their ass and then walk down the street at the end of the episode going to the next town because he couldn't fit in anywhere. Remember that? Okay. In this analogy, the Chinese are the real estate developers with the Belt and Road Initiative, and the Wagner Group and the Russian military are the thugs. And the U.S. is the Hulk they're afraid of, so they're trying to pre-clear. There you go. Did that help? Okay. Here's what the records show about U.S. foreign policy towards Ukraine. And this is, I know. You're like, Hal, aren't you tired of being right? No, I am not. After the 2014 Revolution of Dignity, we looked at this part before, this included helping it tackle a long-standing corruption problem, which left it vulnerable to Russian manipulation in Washington and in Kiev, in public and in private. The documents show a clear, consistent U.S. message. Ukraine must reform its justice system and appoint prosecutors who would go after the oligarchs who stole the country's resources and crippled its political institutions. U.S. officials emphasized by name and repeatedly that one of the oligarchs first on the list for prosecution should be Mykola Zlochevsky of Burisma. It wasn't just the Ukrainian government. The U.S. support and encouragement that was turning in its attention on Zlochevsky. The documents showed that in the spring of 2014, the United Kingdom's Serious Fraud Office froze Zlochevsky's assets. This isn't news. George Kent, then number 2 official of the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, testified during the impeachment inquiry that the U.S., UK, and Ukrainian officials worked together on a case against Zlochevsky because we made a commitment to the Ukrainian government in 2014 to try to recover an estimated tens of billions of dollars of stolen assets of that country. And now, again, one of the reasons why Zlochevsky may have thought he was hiring Hunter Biden to protect him, because that's how shit works over there, but it's not how it works over here. The other aspect of this is that the investors felt okay bringing money into the company because they knew, like everybody else, Hunter Biden was going to take their money and run off to fucking Russia. Now, in April 2014, Burisma's lobbyists, a U.S. company called Blue Star Strategies, sought meetings with administration officials to discuss Burisma and Zlochevsky. Burisma also hired Hunter Biden to be in charge of the holdings legal unit and to provide support for the company amongst international organizations. Vice President spokesperson said at the time, Hunter Biden is a private citizen and a lawyer. The vice president does not endorse any particular company and has no involvement with this company. The documents underscore that the entire U.S. government, from White House to the State Department to our posts overseas, immediately clarified that Hunter Biden's private business dealings had nothing to do with U.S. policy towards Ukraine in general or Burisma in particular. Now, they can push back against that as a statement, but ultimately it turns out materially to be true. Nothing, this is the part that matters, nothing in the documents indicates that Hunter Biden lobbied the administration regarding Burisma. They do show that Blue Star lobbyists got a handful of meetings with State Department officials over a period of 2.5 years from spring of 2014 through December 2016. On one occasion in 2016, the documents show that a State Department staffer who was preparing for one of those meetings sent an email noting that Hunter Biden was on Burisma's board. That email, however, was sent nearly a week after the meeting had already been confirmed. Hunter Biden did not attend the meeting, and there's no indication that his name was used to secure a Blue Star meeting in the first place. That was the one where they were like, it's a little sketchy. You know, they're saying, even people in the State Department were saying, it's a little sketchy that Hunter works for Burisma. It looks bad. Remember all that stuff? That conversation, that genuine conversation where everybody's like, this is bad politics. It's bad optics. That's the email they're talking about. We've seen it a couple times. Yeah, okay. And that's it. And I think they should put a raspberry right in the end. And that's it. Across more than 16,000 pages and more than 2 years of effort by Republicans in both the Senate and House, including an intensive effort by Secretary Pompeo to put a finger on the scale of the Senate investigation after President Trump's impeachment, the documents show that a couple of Burisma lobbyists got a couple of meetings. But what they didn't get was any change in U.S. position towards Burisma's Levchevsky or corruption in Ukraine. Instead, the documents show U.S. officials repeatedly and consistently called out Ukraine for failing to prosecute Levchevsky and Burisma and for slow progress on anti-corruption reforms. When Ukrainian deputy prosecutor, and let me know if this is boring you, but this is just consider this a dunking show. This is all coming out now, but it's exactly what I've been saying. I mean, this is all put together in one particular document, but I've hit on almost every point in this over the last couple of years as we've discussed this, as they've come up in the stories, right? So, when Ukrainian Deputy Prosecutor General Yarema closed the case against Levchevsky around December 2014, George Kent met with Yarema's deputy in February of 2015 and scolded him for doing so, demanding to know who took the bribe and how much was it. This was 10 months after Hunter Biden's appointment to Burisma's board. Who took the bribe and how much was it? And the deputy prosecutor was under Shokin. And I'm sorry, yes, it is pronounced Burmese.
The Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese.
There you go. Yeah, sorry.
I had a beat off.
It happens. All right. Who's your daddy and what does he do? Who took the bribe and how much was it? 7 months later, when the new prosecutor general, Victor Shokin, who later became a close associate of Rudy Giuliani, had failed to take meaningful action on corruption, the documents show that then U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt gave a major speech on September 24th, 2015. He called out Shokin by name for failure to go after Zlochevsky and Burisma, and even went a step further than George Kent had gone in February, calling for the prosecutor who closed the Zlochevsky investigation to be fired. And yet he wasn't. This was in September. The U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, in theory, checking in with the administration, called for Shokin to be fired, and he wasn't. So the next time Biden went, he was like, "If that guy's not fired, you're not getting your fucking money." And son of a bitch. Less than 2 weeks later, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs Victoria Nuland doubled down on Alexander Pyatt's message, telling the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in testimony that the Prosecutor General's office has to be reinvented as an institution that serves the citizens of Ukraine rather than ripping them off. She continued, that means it must investigate and successfully prosecute corruption and asset recovery cases, including locking up dirty personnel in the PGO itself. Also, hashtag Diamond Prosecutors. These repeated calls for prosecutions of Burisma and Zlochevsky happened a year and a half into Hunter Biden's tenure on Burisma's board. The documents contain not a shred of evidence that Hunter Biden tried to change U.S. policy on Burisma or corruption in Ukraine. On the contrary, they make it clear that the U.S. and President Biden, Vice President Biden at the time, were pushing for more accountability, not less. And what did that inspire? A Russian disinformation campaign against Joe Biden. Documents show that on the evening of December 5th, 2015, U.S. Embassy officials in Kiev noticed articles. By the way, you notice the whole Zlochevsky phone call shit happened right about that time? Anybody? Reports of Ukraine are that UAF shot down another A-50 equivalent of a US AWAC. Yeah, they've shot down 7 airplanes. We're going to talk to Phil about that in the last 24 hours. I'm beginning to think that the whole that the U.S. State Department is is playing up Republican intransigence as a rope-a-dope to sucker the fucking the Russians into getting out over their skis. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. Forgive me after all this if I don't take everything at face value. Oh, you were listening to me at 175? I would do that while I'm reading this fast. How would make a good agent? Oh, you have no idea. You mean a secret agent or just like an agent in Hollywood? We'll see. The important thing is, see, right, December 5th? December 4th is the phone call from Dubai that Shokin made to Deep Star Strategies, or whatever, that, to try and get Biden to not get Shokin fired. It's interesting that it happens around the same. It's almost like they got a phone call and said, pull the fucking lever. I sound like Ben Shapiro at 1.5. Well, yeah. Doesn't everybody? Except, I will say, it doesn't pitch me up, does it? Oh, is this a new article? No. The article is new. The materials it references in the record is not. This is a little bit older. And that's what I'm saying. This got overlooked. But it's like a concise report of all the stuff I've been saying over time that the Foreign Affairs Committee had put out, and they used it as reference, which has been sitting there for fucking ever, apparently. And obviously Foreign Affairs reporters would know this because they report on that particular committee all the fucking time. So one would think that they would have known about this a while back. They would have gotten it in their inbox, as it were. But yeah. So, but I just love this. This is fucking, all this is glorious. They have been pushing this since 2014. With the idea being is that they started the initial reports about Biden being corrupt and tied to Ukraine and all this shit as a way to attack Ukraine after the Euromaidan, and the United States started driving out all the Russians that were destroying the Ukrainian government in 2015. And Joe Biden was the point person, so they decided to attack him specifically. Not with the idea that he would eventually run for president and they would use this against him, but to undercut his ability to make an argument against corruption in Ukraine and hopefully not be able to change shit. That they would stop it in its tracks. Didn't fucking work, but it doesn't matter. The seeds were laid, and the stalks that grew from it turned into the bullshit we've been dealing with for a while. Hi, Andrea, by the way. Good morning, CSL. And hello, chat room. Hi, guys. Hit that like, by the way, if this is it. Hit the like if you're being bored to tears with all the details of things this morning. There's a man who leads a life of danger. To everyone he meets, he stays a stranger. Housebox Super Spy. All right. He's got his weird little watch that can rip off people's Wi-Fi. And it can steal the key fob and open the trunk with a button. And he's got a gun that doesn't actually kill anybody. And the thing, and a big giant knife that's actually just a thing for hanging off a cliff if you're stuck with the thing. He's a super spy and he knows what's going on. He's got many disguises and he likes to show them to you all the time. And it's really weird because he dresses up strange and he hides his face. And he could be any guy. That's true. It's true what they do. He could be a girl if you really need him to. He can hide his face behind a big cartoon. He can wear a mustache and look like a Pixar character. What the fuck was that? He could be a guy, everything to do. Sorry, that ain't in keeping with the rest of the song. Go back to it. He can even be COVID if he wants to. I'm back again. He can even be COVID if he wants to. I'm back again. And don't forget, Don Jr. Guys, I got a great plan. Guys, the guy I just dropped off some Eric's laptop at this Delaware repair shop, and the guy thought I was Hunter Biden. He was squinting and said it, and I got an idea. Dad, guys, seriously. He's the man who can hide his face behind the mustache. Nobody knows. I don't trust this motherfucker as far as I can throw him. And I can throw, he weighs $165, fully clothed, soaking wet. I could shot put this little fucker into the Denver luggage rack. All right. Yeah, where is Hallie? Yeah, we've lost her. I think since I grew my hair out, that was the problem. I look too much like her. Don't worry, that's not all we have. The best is yet to come. All right, now back to the story. Are you excited now? Okay. Hunter Biden had been associated with Burisma for a year and a half at that point, with no indication that he had tried to influence U.S. policy towards Ukraine or Burisma. So why was this story coming up now? The records provide an answer, as embassy officials immediately flagged that Vice President Biden was traveling to Ukraine that same week to give an address to the Ukrainian parliament. In that speech, the vice president pledged America's support for Ukraine in its historic battle against corruption. He urged, as other U.S. officials had done, the Prosecutor General's office, which was run by Shokin and refusing to prosecute Zlochevsky and Burisma, desperately needs reform. The judiciary should be overhauled. Now, this was during the first $1 billion loan guarantee. We gave another one, and then by the time we got to the third one, that's when he was like, this fucker's got to go. I'm not giving you another $1 billion loan guarantee unless this motherfucker goes. Because we don't have any guarantee that this money isn't leaving the country. So as the vice president was giving the new Ukrainian government the public shot in the arm it needed to muster the political will to tackle corruption, including in Burisma, the Russians began a whisper campaign trying to make it seem like all of these reform efforts were a scam, and they latched onto Hunter Biden as a convenient tool for that false narrative. But it didn't work. The record showed the entire U.S. government kept pushing tirelessly for anti-corruption reforms in Ukraine and didn't soften its stance on Burisma. Vice President Biden spoke repeatedly with then-President Poroshenko in 2016 about the need to continue to move forward on Ukraine's anti-corruption agenda, and Vice President Biden echoed what Ambassador Payet and George Kent had been saying for months, ultimately pushing President Poroshenko to fire Viktor Shokin for refusing to prosecute people like Burisma's Zlochevsky. In the end, the Obama administration's position never changed as a result of Blue Star's lobbying efforts did I say Deep Star? That's funny. And the end, in December 2016 memorandum prepared for Alexander Yovanovitch's meeting with Blue Star officials, State Department officials summarized the meeting as follows. What do we want? We should hear Blue Star's Tramontano out on Zlochevsky's situation, but not suggest we will change our posture on his case. What does he, she want? This is a form they fill out with all lobbyists. Tramontano would like the U.S. government to take a more positive view of Zlochevsky and possibly meet with him. In sum, the records simply do not support the vague line of attack Russians have used before, during, and since the impeachment inquiry, alleging impropriety by the former Vice President Joe Biden. Rather, the record showed this attack had its origin in Russian propaganda, and it was designed to undercut the efforts of Vice President Biden and the entire U.S. government to support anti-corruption efforts in Ukraine and prosecution, not leniency, for Burisma's Zlochevsky. It's so good. It's so good. It's the laundress mats. Now, this is back to this article, and I know. Hi, chat room. Real quick, hold on. I'll jump in there. I know I'm losing you. Hang in there. You'd like a link to the article? I will post all this. I'm going to be posting pieces of it as well. So I'm going to take out chunks of it and isolate it, and then I'll put the link with it if that helps. Yeah, because I'm gonna go off. I'm gonna leave this show in about 9 minutes. I'm only doing an hour today because I got to drive to LA so I can do an afternoon show. Because I'm in good shape physically, and I need to burn the candle at both ends and try to light the middle. So, okay. Hi, hey, what's going on? All right. This is all right. We'll go back to the articles. Um, yeah, here you go. Giuliani says State Department vowed to investigate after he gave Ukraine docs to Pompeo. This was in 2019. Democrats who saw the documents dismissed them as propaganda and disinformation spreading conspiracy theories. Looking back, they were right. Rudy Giuliani, the personal attorney for President Trump, said Wednesday that he personally gave Secretary of State Mike Pompeo a file of documents with unproven allegations against former Vice President Joe Biden and was told that the State Department would take up an investigation of those claims. Hey, motherfucker, look, it's bad enough when you don't have metadata on the actual files. Printing them the fuck out and putting them in a folder is even less convincing. Thank God this whole plot was run by fucking morons. Some of those documents are contained in the 79-page packet that the State Department's Inspector General handed over to Congress Wednesday, which were obtained by NBC News. The documents, combined with Giuliani's version of events, raised new questions about what was done with the files after they were delivered to the State Department and whether an investigation into allegations contained in them was ever launched. No, it was not. You know why? Fruit of the poison tree. It's garbage. You can printouts of emails related that have no metadata on the original files that you can't verify actually exists will keep you from being able to prosecute anybody in the future. It's one of the greatest ways you can actually scuttle a case against somebody is give them the poison tree to pull fruit from. Fuck me. Also included in the packet are nearly 20 pages of communications between State Department employees working to push back against the fake narrative that Giuliani was pushing. Democrats and staffers who received the briefing, the Inspector General on Wednesday, dismissed the documents as propaganda. It's a packet of propaganda and disinformation spreading conspiracy theories. Those conspiracy theories have been widely debunked and discredited. Did they have a link to that file? Take up an event with. Let's see. Is that the House subpoenas Rudy Giuliani for Ukraine documents part of impeachment inquiry? Where's the packet? Why can I want to see the 79-page packet now. Where is it? Where's my packet? Harumph. I want a copy of the fucking packet. Why can't I get a copy of the goddamn packet? Boo-hoo. Anyways, point being is that to wrap this up, if I may, the backstory of Biden's, going easy on Shokin, going easy on Burisma, going easy on Zlochevsky to help out Hunter Biden is bullshit. It's a lie. And it was put forward in a Russian newspaper in Crimea in 2015. And then all the files, thanks so much for putting that PDF in there, that is, if you see it in the chat room, that PDF that he's from Just the News that Cancel Blind just posted to KL Inc. 42, that is the sort of briefing document that the vice president took with him on his trip to Ukraine the following week that led to the firing of Shokin. That was written a month before. I mean, and we know this goes back all the way to September and August in terms of them, solidifying that this has to be part of the policy or they're not going to continue to give money. Was written a month before he went to Ukraine and before the phone call from Dubai, which happened a day after the Russians dropped this story in the Crimean newspaper to try and build this fake narrative. Curious. Don't you think? Yeah. So, all of it went back. The original basis of this whole anti-Biden campaign over there. Hey, Slayer chick. The entire purpose of this thing was to dirty up Biden so that he couldn't get Shokin fired and therefore go after Zlochevsky and start fighting corruption in Ukraine, because corruption in Ukraine was how the Russians were undermining the whole fucking place. Again, Paul Manafort fucking worked for Yanukovych during the Euromaidan, suggested putting snipers in, which they did do, in the towers, and then having agents provocateurs in the crowd that would give them clearance basically to fire into the crowd and specifically not just open fire blindly on the crowd, but kill the leaders of the Euromaidan so that there couldn't be, they couldn't oust the Russian favoring government that was in there at the time. And then Yanukovych went to go work for Donald Trump for free after that. That tie alone should settle most of this bullshit. I don't know why the fuck people insist on making me have to repeat this by not admitting that it's true. And I don't know, by the way, why the press doesn't just constantly bring this part of it up. Isn't it weird that he worked for Yanukovych? The guy who worked for Yanukovych went to work for Donald Trump as his campaign manager for free? Why would you work for a billionaire for free? Especially after working for a Russian sock puppet in Ukraine during the period of time when Russia had attacked Ukraine and was continuing to try to salami slice its way across the country. And then all of a sudden your boss is fucking gargling Putin's balls at every turn. That doesn't stand out to anybody as a thing. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to sign off and get on the road. Because I have a show at Flappers tonight, and I'm going to try and get to LA in time to do a show for you guys this afternoon. Again, it might be a shorter show, it might be an hour, just so I'm not wearing myself, I'm running myself too ragged. Yeah, so take care of yourself, take care of somebody else. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys, hearing me out through this entire thing. It's important that people know that I'm right, essentially, all the time.
Say it out loud, and even the sheep.
Hit that like on your way out.